Okay, today I'm going to be brewing this Muntons Connoisseurs Bock Beer, which I don't know if you've ever had Bock Beer before, but it's kind of like a dark lager. So the taste of a lager and the body of a dark beer. That's how it's supposed to turn out. Under the lid there's some instructions, and you get this kind of bulk standard yeast, which I'm assuming is just a kind of standard ale yeast, which is, you know, fine if you've got nothing else, but to bring out the best in this beer, and even it says this in the instructions that you should consider upgrading the yeast. I think it says the Muntons Premium Gold yeast. I don't know what that is, but what I'm doing is I'm upgrading to this yeast, which is a Kolsch yeast, which is a Cologne lager ale yeast. And I've used this a couple of times with like Pilsner kits. It makes a world of difference. It really improves the brew. So what you might see on the packet there is it says cold age for 8 weeks. So it's going to be a torturous conditioning period out in the cold shed after we've made this. So it's a kit and kilo type thing. So here's the kit, the bock, so the malted extract, and to that I'm going to be adding a kilo of Muntons Beer Kit Enhancer. So that's just like the malt, spray malt and dextrose sugar combined 50-50 presumably, which is going to give us a nicer brew if we were just going to chuck in a kilo of sugar. It's going to give it a bit more body, and yeah, just improve it. So for the sake of a few extra quid, I'm going to go with the enhancer instead of sugar, and the yeast. I think the yeast was about maybe £2, including postage from these guys, Crossmyloof. Had quite a few different yeasts and hops from these guys. Service is excellent, products are brilliant, and you know, it hardly makes any difference to the overall cost of the brew, but it makes a huge difference in quality. So I'd highly recommend getting rid of the yeast that comes with the kit and upgrading to something else. Okay, so I'm going to get on with putting this together. Should be fairly straightforward. I'm just going to kind of chuck it in the fermenter basically with some hot water, stir it all up, make sure that the temperature's right for pitching the yeast, and let it go for a couple of weeks. Okay, get myself set up. So in here is my this is my fermenter. In there is some no rinse sanitizer, which I've swished around. There's also my spoon in there. I've drawn off 20 litres of water, tap water, which I've added a Camden tablet to remove the chlorine. So that's the water I'm going to be using in the brew. Pretty cold straight out of the tap, but hopefully that'll be balanced out by the boiling water that I'm going to be adding to the malt extract. So I've got 3 litres of water boiling at the moment on top of the hob, and I've got my can of malt extract, the Bock Beer, sitting in some hot water in the sink, so that's going to loosen it up and make it a bit easier to pour out of the can. I'll also get the kettle on in a minute, so once I've opened up the can, I can swish it around with some hot water to make sure I get everything out. Water's boiled. Just about to open up my can of extract, which has been sitting in this hot water in the sink, and my can opener. This has also been sitting in sanitizer. Just can't emphasize enough, you need to sanitize everything that's potentially going to touch anything that's going into your brew at this point. So can opener, I've got my scissors over here that have also been sanitized, which I'm going to use to open up my packet of yeast, a stirrer obviously, and the bubbler. So that's sitting on top of a sanitized lid, so it's all nice and clean. There's my sanitized bucket. So just open up this can, throw it in the bucket, add my 3 litres of boiling water, and then the Brew Enhancer. It's really quite nice and runny where it's been sitting in the hot water. Now for the beer enhancer. So this has got dry malt extract in, and it does tend to clump up a bit. So I'm going to add this in, giving it a good stir as I go, and hopefully I don't get too many lumps. Okay, so we've got our malt extract just rinsed out the tins. We've got a nice clean tin. We don't want to leave any of that goodness in the tin. I've got my beer enhancer in here, which I'm pretty pleased with actually. Didn't get any lumps at all, so added it quite gradually, so maybe that's the key to it. So now I've just got to top it up with cold water, and as I said, the water straight out of the tap. It's pretty cold today. You can see on the gauge on the bucket there, it's sort of 12 degrees. So I'm hoping if I top this up to 20 litres, I'm going to be around about pitching temperature for the yeast. Here we are, filling the bucket up with cold water, which has been treated with a Camden tablet. It's quite important at this stage to aerate the wort, so that the yeast gets the best start it can. So just dropping it in from the bucket there, getting some air in while we go. It's ready to pitch the yeast. I've got about 24 degrees on there, so kind of in that range. At the same time as I'm pitching the yeast, I'm going to add some of this Harris Pure Brew, which is a water treatment and yeast nutrient, which I found does improve these kit extract type things, brews. So I'm going to be adding that at the same time. So the Pure Brew I've added to the bucket, so now I'm just going to add my yeast. It's Kolsch yeast. So it says on the packet to sprinkle it on the surface, so that's what I'm going to do. And let's take a hydrometer reading, more out of interest than anything, but looks like about 144 to start off with, so not too bad. Welcome back! The Bock Beer. Right, so this has been in the bottle now for 4 weeks. It did say on the packet of yeast, the Kolsch yeast that I use, that it recommends cold conditioning for 8 weeks. So I'm jumping the gun a little bit on this, but temptation's got the better of me. So this is the Connoisseurs Bock from Muntons. See what it's like. Sounds like it's got good carbonation. Give it a pour. So we're expecting a dark beer, obviously. It's pretty dark. And the reason I brewed this because I quite like a lager now and again, but just wanted something a little bit more interesting, really. So that's why I brewed this Bock. Alright, so as you can see, it's dark, as it should be. It's got a good head. It smells a little bit banana-y at the moment, but I've noticed that with this Kolsch yeast, that it does smell a bit banana-y when it's young, and it fades away completely after a few weeks. So it's to be expected, I guess. Alright, let's go in for a taste. Oh. Oh, that's really nice. Is it lagery? I don't know. It's very nice. It's not very, well, it's hardly hopped at all, as you'd expect. It's a very nice drink. I expect that would be cracking on a lovely summer's day, out in the garden, sun shining, ice cold one of those. Perfect. So, it's really nice. I'm sure it'll improve over the next few weeks, as that yeast suggests. 4 weeks time, I guess that'll probably be in its prime, but might leave it a little bit longer for the sunny days. Would I recommend it? Yes, give it a go. If you're looking for something a little bit different to your normal lagers, it's a nice change, I'd say. And that's the beauty of homebrew. You can kind of brew up stuff that is not readily available in the shops and come up with something like that. Give it a go. Muntons Connoisseurs Bock Beer. It's a thumbs up from me.